Hey, if you've got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition Home Gadget Geeks Thursday night. It's the 4th of March, 2021. Thank God it's 2021. Just a few minutes before 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone. If you're listening any other time than that, means you've got the recorded version. That's okay. Hang tight. We're in pre-show. We'll get started here in just a second. Pretty good live audience checking in already. I see Jim Shoemaker out there. Brian's checking in. I saw Ken a little bit earlier. And so if you're hanging out, watching the video, and you're on our live page, down below me, there is a link to the YouTube page that will take you over to that instance that has the chat in it. Joe's checking in as well. Joe, thanks for doing that as well. If you're there, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Appreciate that. And that's always helpful. Ken gave us a pre-thumbs up. So Ken, thanks for doing that for it. And then hit subscribe if you haven't already. That way you get a notification anytime we go live, and a great opportunity to just make sure you never miss a show. Dwayne, last week I called you Dwayne Johnson. I'm just going to clear the air.
Dwayne Wayne.
So now you're the
I'm
Rock.
The Rock. Yeah, I am.
I said it, and then I didn't think about it, and I got to the end of the show, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I said Dwayne Johnson. I've only known you for like 7 years.
Crazily enough, you're not the first person to do that.
No, I'm sure I'm not. So yeah, I made sure I corrected that, but appreciate Kevin's jumping in. Kevin, good to see you. We'll get started here in just a sec, a few minutes before the hour. And Mike is on assignment tonight. He's on family assignment. Let's just call it that. Dwayne, good to have you back, man. It's been it is a lot has transpired since 431.
Yeah, that is pretty funny.
It's like
nothing. Yeah, nothing's more fun than the craziness in my life.
I'm kind of glad now. We can allude to it a little bit later, but I'm kind of glad now I left you alone during this summer.
I know. It's like I just one crisis after another. Yeah. Because normally, if I haven't heard from you in a while, I ping you. And I'm like, hey.
Yeah. You're like, I got something to say. And I'm like, all right, well, let's schedule a day. Let's get you on. But at this point, it's like, man, I haven't heard from Dwayne in a while. I hope he's doing all right. So I pinged you, and you're like, oh, yeah, we'll get it taken care of. So good stuff. Yeah. You still have the Tesla?
I do. I still have my Model S, and I have a truck on order.
Yeah, I ordered the truck as well last week on the show.
Oh, you did? Well, yeah. Tri-motor?
Yeah. No, just the dual.
Yes, I'm waiting for the tri. Okay. I want 500 miles of range.
Do you have any? They're going to do the dual motors first, which is one of the reasons I picked that. But do you think you have any idea of when you think those will even go into manufacturing?
I'm hearing that in 2022.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing but the tri-motors I'm hearing will be late 2022.
Okay.
So if you look at, they just released the new Model S, and if you go online and you act like you're going to order it because it's not on the actual page, if you go into it and say, hey, I want to order it, there's the Plaid Plus. And the Plaid Plus is the tri-motor version that has the platform that is the 0 to 60 in less than 1.9 seconds. And it's also, it's going to be over 1,100 horsepower. And then on top of that, it has over 500 miles of range. So that is the battery setup and the drivetrain going into the S first. And then that makes its way to the Roadster and the truck.
Yeah.
So that's basically the plan. Okay. I'm sure they'll put it in the Model X, but I don't know. Model X is kind of long in the tooth for me. So I have a friend of mine who just bought the new one. So I can come back and once he takes delivery, because he gets it in March. Well, we are in March. He gets it this month, and so he'll have the whole new setup with the new interior on the Model S that has the video screen in the back and all that. So,
nice. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I just am worried about the steering wheel.
They're going to change it.
All the spy videos are showing that it's actually it's a full circle.
Yeah, that's
steering wheel.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing as well. I don't think at earliest with the dual motor, I don't think we're probably looking a year, because they have 600,000 pre-orders now. Who knows how many of those will actually go through? By the way, what a genius Kickstarter plan. right? Get 600,000 people to give you $100. Now it's fully refundable, so you're gonna give some of it back, but that's a huge cash infusion, right? I mean,
Well,
think
I
about how
did
much money.
I did the 1,000 toward a Model 3.
Yeah.
I didn't buy the Model 3 because
Yeah.
when I went to go buy the car, I bought it in September of, September 2 years ago. So it's a 2018 model, I guess is what it would be. And it's so hard to tell what model you have in a Tesla because it's like they constantly are changing and tweaking little things.
Mm-hmm.
So my model, just to give you an idea, in the Model S world of things, I have the P100, which doesn't exist anymore. But I have a silver one, and I have the nice turbine wheels, the big turbine wheels, and then I have the black leather interior with carbon fiber interior, which you can't do this anymore. You can't get that color, you can't get the carbon fiber and all of that. So it's kind of one of those things where I got that, and then what I can't do is they just released this boombox thing where you can honk your horn and you can make it play all kinds of different stuff, like bark like a dog or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Mine won't do that because I don't have there was legislation passed right after mine that was forcing them to have to make the car make noise when it's in a parking lot so that you didn't run over somebody because it's so quiet. Yeah. And so they put that loudspeaker on to replace the horn, but mine doesn't have that. So I can't do that, but I have all the upgraded electronics to the latest electronics other than the horn. so and believe it or not, I checked to see what it costs to do that, to fix that. And you have to get a whole new wiring harness for your whole car. It'll cost you more than just going and getting the new car.
Just get a new car. Just sell it and get a new car.
Yeah,
just get a new one.
But I will say, like, long-term ownership of this thing for people who are interested in it, still favorite car I've ever owned.
Yeah.
I actually don't intend to get rid of it. I'm not gonna. My intention is I will pay this one off about the time the truck comes in. I would rather just have it available because I have lifetime supercharging for free in that car. I have to drive my son down to Birmingham, Alabama from Nashville. Every other Sunday, he's learning to be like a kicker, and they have this professional kicking thing that we put him in. So I drive back and forth to Birmingham every other week. One supercharger stop that I need to make between the two. And that's completely free.
Yeah, right. Why
wouldn't you? I have not had to do.
How'd you get that deal?
When I bought mine, it was before they did these big price cuts, and I got the $7,500 tax credit, and they were offering like 1.74% financing and all that type of stuff. So they had all these incentive things, but the price of my car was way more than what the price is now. But one of the things they said is if you had a referral code, which my friend had bought a Model X, so I just used his referral code, that you get lifetime free supercharging. It's not transferable to anyone else. And so, but the battery pack on my car is supposed to last between 500 to 600,000 miles. So I'm kind of the opinion that I'll just buy the extended warranty on the car, which, by the way, they want that you can buy that at any time. You could buy it. You can wait to the last month and buy it. So I'm just going to wait, make sure, and I'm going to buy it, and then that should be when the truck is available, and then I'll get the truck and do that. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy, isn't it?
What's really crazy is that it annoys me to drive a gas car. Because and the funny thing is everybody's all about the range and worried about that. Like the difference is every day when I like the worst thing in the world, because I have a Jeep and my wife will drive my Jeep, and she always returns it to the house with no gas. So when I need to go somewhere, I get in the car and the first thing I have to do is go to a gas station. And my Tesla, every single time I pull it out of the garage, I have about 300 miles of range. And so I'm like, hallelujah. Right. It saved a lot of fights in our family. It's worth the investment just for that.
Yeah. No, right on. But, well, I have to make the decision do I wait for the truck or do I do something different? So my hand is not forced. I don't need to buy anything right now. I'm good, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of waiting to see. I'm in that perfect situation where I just don't have to do anything, and I can kind of wait for the right one. So I got the $100 down on the truck, but we'll
Yep.
see. We'll see.
Oh.
I may, like, I really want a truck, but I may just buy, like, I don't use a truck that often. So it may just pay for me to get a beater, that sits in the driveway, and does my trips to Menards to pick up a couple pieces of lumber, that, because it's not like, well, I mean, and lumber's tripled in price, so it's not like I'm going to be doing any massive home improvements of my own, like, in the next year or two. So I don't know. I mean, it'd make more sense for me to buy a sedan, to get it like a Model S, and then just have a beater truck. Like, there's no,
But the problem is going to be this. This is where it's going to suck for you.
Okay.
Is that a Model S costs more than the truck?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, so with the Model S, I will tell you this. Okay, so I told you I have a Jeep, right? When we have to go down to my parents' house down in Middle Georgia, it's a 6.5 hour drive, and people who are interested, that's 2 stops at Superchargers, but I would stop twice anyway normally because I would need to go to the bathroom and get something to eat. So it's not a problem. And so with that, every time we go all the way down with like all of our Christmas gifts and stuff, and we have to take a car that can actually handle all that. And we don't take the Jeep because my Tesla, between the front, the trunk, and what I call the bedunk, actually has more storage capacity than any other vehicle I own. And then on top of that, I don't have to pay for fuel. And I had my dad and I put in a NEMA 1450 on his shop. And so when I go to his house, I just plug in my travel charger and charge the thing up, and it's great. And when you go they live off a dirt road, so I'm driving a Model S down a dirt road, and I go into the suspension and I raise it up like a big truck,
as far as you can go,
as far as I can go. And everybody laughs. They're like, "Oh my God, this guy's got a Tesla driving it down a dirt road."
Yeah.
But it does well. And I like I said, it is the best car that I've ever owned.
Yeah. Well, I'll look into it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not in a gigantic hurry. I ordered the truck just because it was like, yeah, might as well. I mean, it's not like I have to have it. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. We got a lot to talk about. Guys, if you're joining us in the chat room, thanks for coming out. Brian, Justin, good to see you guys. I think you're new to the chat room since you come in. If you're watching on Twitch, welcome. You can join us. I am now watching the chat room on Twitch. So if you're over there watching on Twitch, you can use the chat room there, and it's unified at this point. So, all right, let me kick this thing off, Dwayne, and let's do this thing. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 482, recorded on March 4th, 2021. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. Dwayne, not so lucky. I mean, we got 1.5 feet of snow, but so did you guys. Just a few weeks ago. Has the state recovered? Is it still in a state of emergency? How are you guys doing out there?
Well, so get this. So I have a developer that works. Think of it like I'm kind of like the lead program manager at Microsoft for the space I'm in, and then I have a lead developer that helps me as part of our feature team. He lives in Austin, and so in Austin, Texas, of course. And so between the two of us, so compared to him, my life was easy.
Yeah.
But I did. We got 1.5 feet of snow. Things are fine. Because we, unlike Texas, we get snow, so we have the right equipment. It just takes us longer than places that normally get snow to get all the roads done. It's not like Georgia, where I came from. 3 inches would shut you down for a week and a half. Here, it shut us down for about 3 days before they got the what I call the neighborhood roads where they were passable.
Yeah.
And then, I have a Jeep 4x4 Wrangler Unlimited, so I could pretty much go out and have fun if I wanted to. So it wasn't so bad for me. My neighbors that are on up the hill and down the other hill, they definitely had some challenges.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it
our
was
friends
fun.
in Texas definitely were challenged. If they're a listener and you're in Texas, I'm sorry. And
Yeah.
hopefully by now you are recovered and back at it. So hopefully things are getting back to normal. Dwayne, good to see you. Of course, we'll post a show with show notes, a few show notes. Dwayne's got a few that we'll pull over out at theaverageguy.tv. Dwayne, I was thinking back to 2000, late 2018. We had you on the show talking about crypto. That kicked off that show. I think it was maybe October, November. That show kind of kicked off a crypto craze here on Home Gadget Geeks that has kind of lasted. We've gone from highs to lows. We haven't talked to you in a year. So like we've seen the best crypto run up. I sure hope were you engaged in this run up of a sort? Was it good to you?
I'm checking right now, Jim, because you said that, and I was like, I need to open up some Coinbase.
Have you not looked in a while?
Oh, okay. Well, so yes and no. Yes and no. Okay. So of course, I heard the news that it was going skyrocketing again. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the last time we talked, but when because
January
it's been a while.
2020. January 2020 is the last time we talked. It was at all-time low then.
Yeah. So if you recall, matter of fact, I think if you go back to that, we talked about this, that I said that it gets cold in my office. And so what I decided I was doing back then is that I was running the miners to produce the heat my office so that I didn't run a space heater.
Yeah.
Because what's the point running a space heater that doesn't do any, all that is costing you money. So I ended up running my miners, and I was making a decent amount of Bitcoin. I remember I had those racks. I had like 2 of them, and they're upstairs. I actually thought about it when all this was going on. I had a friend of mine call me, and in the move, I got rid of my monitor that I was using for the mining rig. And so my only problem and why I didn't set it up and do this, because it was in my attic, and I actually have power in my attic where I could plug them, and it's like freezing cold up there. So I was thinking I should hook them up and just let them run in my attic, because I wouldn't pay for cooling. So I thought about doing it. I didn't do it. But what I will say is that I was doing that back when we talked last. And so I generated a good amount of Bitcoin. And I never the only time I ever sold Bitcoin was when I bought the Tesla, and I used it to help pay for for part of the down payment. And so then I left it sitting, and I haven't touched it or looked at it, other than I ran those miners and I went into like Nice Hash and everything, and I made sure that the money was transferred into Coinbase. And so I would say, based upon my evaluation of looking at my phone and looking at my Coinbase account, it has been very nice to Dwayne.
Isn't that a great surprise?
I did nothing, and it was nice. But the issue is that now if I were to do anything, I would have to file it on my taxes. But I just did my taxes, and that was fun. Yeah. So
it's a little bit of a pain. It's a little bit of a pain for those that are doing it. Well, we've been encouraging folks, if you want to, because a lot of folks have been interested in this, right? Join us over on Coinbase. I'm sure you're using Coinbase. And if you head out to theaverageguy.tv/Coinbase, and your first trade of $100 or more, you get 10, I get 10. It's not a bad way to do it. A little referral there if you want to try it out. I'm not a big fan of you. Like I want you to know what you're doing before you just go in there. There's been a lot of weird craziness in this trading market. I don't want you doing that. But if you want to jump in there and get to know some things and trade a little bit, you can even pick up some free crypto with some video training that's out there. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/Coinbase and get that done. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers as well. And Dwayne, you're one of those. So thanks for doing that. On Patreon, you can join us at theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. This week, Eric talked me into also putting the podcast on Supercast. So like if you're anti-Patreon for whatever reason, but you still want to support the channel, if you go to theaverageguy.tv/ Supercast. So maybe you've been waiting for this moment. Like, I hate Patreon. I'll never do Patreon. Well, okay. We have Supercast for you. TheAverageGuy.tv/Supercast. You can subscribe over there and get the audio download if you want to do it that way. I haven't put video out there yet. And if you want to do it that way, you can do it as well. TheAverageGuy.tv/Supercast. Dwayne, we are going to do I'll have to have you back. We're going to do a kind of a Tesla, or let's say EV roundtable show here coming up maybe in the next month or two, now that I've got the down payment. You really can't call it that, but the down payment on the truck. Okay, I got to start talking about it a little more often. So if I invited you back for a roundtable, would you show up for that?
Do I have beer?
Yes. So you'll be there. If others who are listening want to join us for that, if you have an EV or you have a Tesla and you want to join us, I know Ed said yes to that already. I've had a couple of you jump in, and I think Peter jumped in and said yes. Dwayne says yes. We're going to put a little roundtable. We might even do a couple roundtables if we get enough folks to do that. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and we will get you set up for that, and we'll figure out a time to get it done. And of course, appreciate your feedback on that as well. Dwayne, it's been kind of fun to kind of talk Tesla over the last couple of weeks. I've been thinking about it. Last week on the show, or maybe after the show, I think I put the $100 down on the truck, getting ready. You've had great luck with your Tesla, so why not? Right? Why not?
Yeah, I mean the interest, like, there's a couple of things. The headlights I've had replaced 3 times because of the eyebrows that go out, but they've always come to my house and they take care of that, so that's not a problem. You have to bottle open it. my wife's bringing me a beer.
Oh, nice.
Because she's super sweet and super nice, and I had forgotten it, so I'm going to do a Modelo Negra.
I like it.
Because you brought up me coming on, and I said I had to have beer, and then it occurred to me I forgot to get something to drink.
Wow,
so she's super nice.
Is she getting an opener for you too?
Yes, she's. Oh, here, look,
man. Tell her I said
beer assistant.
Look at that. Tell her I said thank you. It's not often. Sarah used to do that for me, but now we've been married 32 years, and she's like, "Get your own damn beer." So,
well, that would be the normal if it wasn't for the fact that she knew I was on here with you guys. So all of you listeners and everyone, thank you for allowing me to actually ask my wife to get a beer, and she did it for me because she loves you guys too. So,
well, we before you, as you're getting that beer open, Jim Shoemaker says he doesn't have a Tesla, but might be good to include plug-in hybrid owners too, if you don't get enough. So, Jim, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and we'll get you on the list if you want to come in. We just kind of want to talk the gamut of them. So,
and the funny thing is, I actually owned a Volt, so I can kind of speak to the Volt and plug-in hybrid thing and the difference between that and an electric. And I think a lot. So, Jim, here's the thing I will tell you, and we talked about the gas thing a little bit. I think the other thing you should really think about is the fact of there's a couple of key points, and we can go into that more when you want to do that. One is the complete lack of having to do any maintenance, zero maintenance. I mean, I don't even think I've had to replace the windshield wipers. So there's that piece of it, and then the other side of it is the fact that you just you know how you have do you have an iPhone?
I do.
Okay, so do you know how an iPhone, you have an old iPhone and it just keeps getting updates, keeps doing that's a Tesla. So you don't actually feel like you have an old car, and they don't really change the look of it. I tell people that Porsche is really good at this. They don't change the look of a 911 drastically from year to year to year because of the fact that they don't want to make their old cars look old and less desirable. So it keeps their value up. I don't really think of Tesla as a good value play. I think it's more of along the lines of, if you'll keep it, you'll see that you make your money in a different spot. It has a pretty high depreciation, but the result is there's less cost associated with once you own it.
All right.
But anyway, so that would be a great conversation.
Because I don't want you to give it all away. We want to have you back on the show so that we can talk a little bit about it. If you're interested in joining us for that, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Dwayne, since we talked to you last, it was a year ago. It was January like 18th, 2020. I can't like the world has changed in the year and some change. Like, I mean, how drastic. Give us a quick, and when I say quick, in a Dwayne Robinson way, give us a just quick update on you. Like, give us what's kept you busy over the last year. How's work? We know you got a big important job there at Microsoft. How's that going? You don't have to give us any details, but just how's it going? Give us a quick update.
Okay, since you and I have talked last, my office looks different because it's different. It's a different house.
New
So
place.
I sold a house, bought a new house, had to completely renovate the house that I bought because I wanted the neighborhood. So ended up in a hotel for a month, caught COVID while I was in the hotel, then came back to the house.
So sorry.
Ended up with
Oh my gosh.
my electrical panel catching on fire. Had my entire pool stuff that was part of the pool, it just went completely out, and I had to replace that. My wife was like, "Oh my God, you got to get off that conference call because the water filter for the pool is just spraying all over the side of the house." And so it was just constant stuff with that going on. And then of course we've had the snow recently that this is destroying stuff for me. So in general, I would say that side of it has been crazy. And of course, to make it even worse, we decided we would go pick up a puppy right as soon as we did all this.
Why wouldn't you?
And yeah, why not? Let's continue the punishment. And then you kind of run into, from work side, it's been interesting because when I met with you guys before,
we talked a bunch of AI, like that whole right. I think that whole show was a bunch of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I put something in our topics toward the end where like in the bonus time that I can kind of give more of an update on that. But to give you an idea, the difference is, if you recall, at that time I was triple diamond medallion on Delta and to their 360 where they pick you up with a Porsche and take you from plane to plane, because I flew so much, to I have not been on a plane since February of last year at all. Yeah. And so that all went down. Oh, and I had the company that I had that RV that I had bought. They determined it was a lemon, made me a new one, and gave me a brand new one that I had to go to Florida and get. So it's like so I've been dealing with lemons on RVs and everything, and then when on the work side, like I said, on the work, with it changing like this, I've actually become more engaged in product development and less engaged in having to go out to customer sites and deal with things. So now I actually own a whole piece of a product at Microsoft, where before I was part of a product group, but I was more of an influencer into it. But now I actually am like a program manager that does own something where people will be using the stuff that I'm working on more so than just indirectly. I directly work on it. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, but I'm just glad you made it.
I'm glad everybody made it. I'm glad.
No, I really am. It's been that kind of year, If you want to go back to Dwayne's previous episode, go to theaverageguy.tv/HGG for Home Gadget Geeks. 431 will get you there. And I get that right.
Talk about
431.
Oh my God. We talked about the wireless mesh system that I put in my house when I got the Eros. I've actually moved to the Wi-Fi 6 version of that. That's crazy.
Well, and I think we talked a bunch of travel gadgets as well, but before the show before that, 424. So we had you on to talk this stuff. We ended up getting into all the stuff you were working on in 424. Spent the whole show talking about that. And then I had you back on 431 to kind of catch up on travel gadgets and some of those kinds of things. Dwayne, let me ask you this. I mean, when we think about travel, what do you miss? You're a guy who traveled a lot. What do you miss the most, and what do you don't miss the most about not traveling? Like, what can't you wait to get back to? And then what are some things you're like, oh man, it's been so great not having this? What are those two things for you that you think?
So I think, okay, so let's start with the things I miss. The things I miss are, I feel like I don't get anywhere near as much exercise because I was walking airports and walking miles and miles and miles every single week, including when I would get to customer sites or go to the office. It was just meeting after meeting all over campus. Like it was just a ton of moving around. And I feel like I'm stationary and I don't get to move around as much. And that's a bit of a problem for me. And then the other thing is I really miss getting, like, I really enjoy working with people. Like going out and meeting people and understanding kind of what their challenges are. Even my own team, I would much rather us go sit in a conference room and get a whiteboard and work things through. And a lot of times I actually think that would be more helpful to get things done. So it's much harder to keep a collaborative type of thing. Like the issue is a lot of people, when you're working from home, you think like, oh, well, I need to book a meeting. And in real work, you would just go grab a conference room and you'd be drawing on the whiteboard. You're actually working together, but now people associate a conference call to a meeting, and you really want it to be collaborative. You don't want it. And so now we're starting to see, especially inside of Microsoft, we're starting to see people understand that, hey, it's okay to hit the call button, talk to somebody and collaborate. And we do a lot of video. So I think the good parts though are the fact that, you know, I'm able to go to all my kids' stuff. Like I can go to my daughter's cheer stuff and everything. Like scheduling this with you, it was like no big deal. Let's pick a day and
it was
and
nice.
I can just do it because you can recall, like you and I actually had one episode where I did it in the office in Redmond. And scheduling that can be difficult, and I don't have to worry. Like the only reason that I wore an Apple Watch, like this Apple Watch, which is a 2, right? I have no reason to upgrade to anything else because the only thing this thing did that I wanted was it would make sure that I knew what time it was in the time zone where I was so I wouldn't miss flights. That was literally the only reason I cared. So again, I think there's good and bad to it. What I will tell you is that since then, Microsoft passed a policy where anyone in a product group can live anywhere in the continental US. You do not have to even get really an approval. You just work it out with your manager. And so there's a lot of people moving into virtual offices. And I don't think we're going to go back to a lot of having to be in the office because we've been able to make it productive in this way.
Yeah.
The other thing is I don't anticipate my travel will go anywhere near to what it was before. In general, the world has figured out how to do conference calls and have become more accepting of it. But I can't say it has been a ride to see Teams and the evolution of Teams from the day we last talked to today is insane. What all is in that thing.
I think a year ago, if we would ask the audience who's using Teams, it would have been almost nobody, a few, whereas in the enterprise, we were just starting to adopt it at Gallup, where I work. And maybe we'd had it in maybe a couple months before this all hit. To today, it's the word ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's you know, and it's people are, and it's getting there. You know, Microsoft continues to add more and more functionality to it. One of the differences I've seen, and Christian Johnson used to do this all the time. We would just open a call and we'd work together with the call open, but not really even saying anything. We'd be working on a project together. You could hear him clickety clack. You could hear me clickety clack. And then every once in a while he'd be like, oh, okay, can you do this for me? And then we'd talk it through and I'd get it done or whatever. And then I'd say, okay, that's done. Let me commit it over here for you. Okay, it's ready. And it was really true what you're saying, true collaboration, which I think is really, really powerful when you have teams separated. I think you made a statement that made me think of this. We thought it was just moving meetings to online, where I think we haven't quite gotten to the point where, like you're saying, true collaboration has happened, where it's just okay to call somebody and work through problems in real time. I just did one of those this morning with,
Yep.
they wanted some website updates on some stuff, and it was in WordPress, and I know how to do that. So I was helping. We're on the phone for like 45 minutes. It was not a meeting. They were telling me what to do. I was committing it and say, okay, does this look right?
Oh yeah.
That's actually more effective this way
Like
than it was in person.
to give you an idea, I'll go for 2 to 3 days and not read email. Because if people want to talk to me, they don't email me. That's like a documentation thing, like write a Word doc. No, God, no, please don't do that. Like, so we jump on like IMing and going back and forth, and it's like, hey, let me call you, and okay, and then boom, you're in. So that's kind of nice. I would tell you though, the danger and where we've seen a lot of problems is it makes it where people work more. And they don't disengage. And so we're having to do things like one of the things we just did, and I think it was a wise decision from our leadership, is we incorporated times in the day that you're not allowed to schedule meetings. You're not allowed to schedule anything in our team on certain hours and days, because that is, we need some time to focus. Focus time becomes a little harder to get now that you're just at someone's fingertips. And then the other thing is that I've incorporated, I block out of the office time on my calendars, so people know, don't even try, like, because they will just do it, and because it's too easy. And so I think those type of things are a little difficult. You almost have to figure out what's your limit and where you want to say no. And I feel like that's going to be a huge challenge, not tech wise, but like just in general, for people to understand how to change.
Yeah, it's a human problem.
It's right. Isn't that what they say? The most costly part of any solution is the human change management.
Right, the human interface that's associated with it. Like that's always the problem. And so, listen, I've had the best, most productive year of my career this year. Well, 2020. And it's bled over into 2021. I wouldn't take it back for anything. Like people are like, you've said to me, what a crazy year. I wish we could forget about it. And I'm like, forget about it. It was the best year of my career. And not saying best in the terms of the human cost from the virus, not from the turmoil and the riots that existed, not from the sense of the turmoil that we had as a country here in the United States with our own government. But for me personally, and the things that I do from a career standpoint, it was a banner year. And so I look at these kinds of things. I struggle with you in the sense that I got to move around more. Like I'm not moving around. My watch is telling me all the time, like, dude, get out of the chair, like move around a little bit. Today has been a thin day. I worked right up until 2:00, and then I had to go pick up Sammy at Northwest. So drove up there 4 hours straight up, straight back, came in, sat down, had dinner with the family, which, by the way, we're doing dinner together 6 or 7 nights a week. That never happened before. Like,
I didn't think about that. We do too now.
Yeah. Totally transformed dinner. Like, I am cooking way better than I used to. Well, I used to never cook, and now I'm cooking all the time. Right. Because I was home. I'm like, I'll just start. My wife had to still go in. Right. So I was like, well, I'll just get dinner started. And that turned into, I'll just do dinner, I'll just, and I really like it. Right. So I think there's been some really positive for those. Listen, it's affected everybody different. We've had our healthcare workers. I think of Tony Rayner, who is out there going in, pulling ridiculous shifts for this kind of thing. So it's been crazy, but good to Dwayne, good to see you. And I'm glad you made that through the whole thing, and that you're still upright in the midst of a fire and collapsed roof and a pool nearly exploding and COVID and all those other things that you've had to deal with.
And the puppy.
We're just glad. And the puppy. Yeah. The puppy is minor. Yeah.
This way.
That way. There you go.
Right there.
To all the things. Well, thanks for that, for catching up with us. Let's dig into some tech. You've got catch us up. What are you using? You mentioned the watch, and I was a little surprised. You're still using a Gen 2. on the wrist there, Dwayne. I'm just surprised. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to justify it.
I don't want to
But
spend any money on it.
what
It
are
tells
you?
me what time it is in the right time zone.
No, right on, right on. If that's all you needed to do, it's only been one time zone for the last year, which is pretty great. What are you
Yeah.
what are you using from a laptop or a main driver? What kind of gear are you using there in the office?
Yeah. So okay. So in my new role and where I've been doing, I have to test things on multiple machine types. So to this side of me is a 16-inch MacBook Pro i9. So the new one that they fixed the keyboard craziness. And so, and sadly, the funny thing is that's the Microsoft provided asset. And so, I can show you exactly how far Microsoft has changed since the days I started 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I have that connected to a docking station. And then I have one of those ultra wide Dell monitors that was originally on it. So if you ever see me shift in the video like over here, that means I'm on Mac. But then I come back over here and I'm on PC, which is my main workstation. And I got tired of not having a way, like when I was traveling a lot, I like to do gaming. So what I decided is I was going to buy, and I think this was back around the time that we talked, I made an investment and I got a Razer Blade 15 Advanced, and with like the 300 hertz refresh rate on the screen and an RTX 2070 Max and all that. And I upgraded it to 32 gigs of RAM and a 2 terabyte SSD. And so that one right there is as close as you can get to what I have these days, because mine, I was able to get the Mercury Silver, which looks kind of like a silver white color. So my keyboard's white. So I have that, and I have it connected to that Razer Core thing. So like if you're in the product section, you can look, and it's like this dock. It's basically a USB-C Thunderbolt connected graphics enclosure. So when I have it plugged in at my desk, it's connected over to that. So, and I have a GTX 1080 Super in there, so that I can basically upgrade the graphics card on my device and run off of that whenever I'm not. And then I bought a 49-inch ultra wide monitor that I use between the two, and this actually works out really well. I didn't plan this, but the computer screen on the laptop is a 1080p screen. If you're working from home and you have this ultra wide monitor and you want to share your screen with somebody to do a presentation, it's so nice to have a 1080p screen that you know you're not going to have resolution problems with people when you do presentations. So I just drag it over there and only share that monitor. And because if I shared this 49-inch to you guys, it would make it look like it's a little needle.
Yeah.
On the screen.
We talked about Teams earlier. It is one of the areas our version of Teams still continues to struggle, because I have a 40-something inch or 38-inch ultra wide. And when you split those among two and then you try to share just one of those, it's just really struggle. Zoom, of course, will do that no problem, but Teams, at least our version of it, still continues to struggle. So yeah, you're right. When you get those ultra wides, then you try and split them up, you try and share them. Because listen, I wish I had $1 for every time I said, let me just share my screen. Like, that has become such an effective way of working and collaborating, of just sharing screens. I remember, a couple of years ago, that seemed to be just something you did in a meeting when you were showing a presentation. Now I can't tell you, like, someone's struggling with something, I'm like, share your screen with me. Just turn it on right now. Right. Or let me show you. I'm just going to turn on my screen. And that's just it's not unusual anymore.
So and it's funny because, so I told you I had that laptop. Well, my wife, her Surface laptop started having drive issues, and that her company gave her, and she works for a smaller company she's an SAP developer, and she was complaining she wanted faster, she wanted all this, and so she went out and she bought the one that is the Mercury color. It's got the OLED 4K screen, but it's the base model. And that thing is a steal of a computer because it's completely upgradable and everything. And the screen on that thing is insane. Now it's 60 hertz. So if you're a gamer, it's not for you, right? So you don't want to do that. However, that thing, like, she will power up she had 3 monitors and she went and kept a 1080p screen so that she could do the same thing. So I think there's going to be this trend of, I have to have a monitor in my array. If you have a home office like this, the ultra wides are really, like, I cannot express how important it is if you work from home. I know they're expensive. The one I have is this Agon one, and it is like 144 hertz, and they do advanced replacement if there's a pixel dead on it for 3 years and everything. It's not too expensive. It's like about $800 to $900, but I mean, we're talking, it's like, I can't even, it's about as wide as the TV behind me, but not that tall. And by doing that, you end up where I'm running the video in the center, and I've got chats over here, and I got notes over here, and then I got a thing where I can present over there. And so all of that is really super. If you're into home productivity and home offices and stuff, I really suggest that you think about that. Make sure you have a monitor that is easily shared. And if you've got a 4K monitor, sharing that with somebody who can't see that is really, it hurts your productivity. So I think this is going to be one of those situations where you do that. Now, you don't need a 49. I would just tell you these ultra wides are the way to go, though. My wife has one, I have one, and I don't think I could ever go back.
I think I have a 38, and it's great. At Dell, it was probably $700. I've got the same. Let's see if I can do this here. I've got a similar setup here. When it's the ultra wide is down here, and the 1080p monitor is up here.
Let's see if I can do this.
And
you can see how big this monitor is, and then there's the computer. So that's the Mercury one.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
well, you're right. I never thought about having that. Whoops. I never thought about having that 1080p monitor just as a sharing monitor, but I do it. I use it all the time. It's funny because I get wonky results on Teams off the widescreen. So the ultra wide. So I just move it up, it's right above it. I take the window, drag it up, and just share that one. And it works really well. I'm like you too. I have a laptop that drives we actually go through it's a Lenovo, and I have a Lenovo docking station that's got two HDMIs that come out the back that could drive more. It drives both of them for me, which is great. And it's super productive. I'm having a hard time. Like they're wanting us to come back into work, and I've got a little, at work. Well, this was my work monitor. I don't want to take it back yet because it's so helpful at home. So I go in and I use a laptop and a little, a 24-inch monitor at work, and I'm like, this is almost unworkable. I mean, I need.
I know, it drives me nuts.
I need more real estate. I need bigger fonts.
I literally have to go find a second monitor whenever I go travel with my laptop at the office. So it's one of those things that I think it's just, once you get used to it, you can't go back.
No.
And once you get used to going with an ultra wide where you can go 50-50 and have stuff, and then when you go the difference I saw when I went to 49 is I can go 3 things in a usable way. But the snapping pieces of that, I learned there's some Windows snap tricks that you can learn. If you want a fun one, boys and girls, here's you a little trick. If you end up with a big monitor or something that's wide, and you want to do something other than snap left, snap right, or the corners or the top or the bottom or type of things, what you can do is, if you take a window and you make it smaller, like the width that you want, and then you grab the top of the window and you drag the window all the way to the top of the screen, right? And when I say that, not the whole window, the sizing. Like when you have the 2 arrows, if you take the 2 arrows and you drag it straight up to the top, it will make it that width all the way down. And so it's an interesting little snap feature that you figure out, and it's a pretty good thing. So I think, from a PC perspective, that's kind of where I landed. And it's weird that I didn't buy another PC because I have that little, on the side business, I have a DJing thing that I do where I help out nonprofit organizations and schools and churches and things like this. And I run DJ equipment and things like this for them, and I get paid sometimes for it, but then I try to donate back if I can. The only time I ever really charge anything is going to be whenever I have a situation where I might need to get some equipment to help. So it's more of a thing to do that. So a lot of this stuff I can just write off, right? So when people are looking at all this tech and stuff that I work with, a lot of it I have to drive lasers and lighting equipment and music and things like that, as well as the work stuff. So it's kind of nice. Now I will say that this year with COVID, I can't do anything with it. So so I didn't do anything, but it's nice that I have a laptop that's so powerful that I know that it will last like several years, because I'm running that i7, but I'm not running that other i7, like the low voltage one. I'm running the one that's got like 8 cores and stuff on it. So I don't really lack for power. And I feel that has been a good decision for productivity and for gaming, which is kind of what we were going to talk about. The interesting thing is console, Jim. So console, I'm a little weird because I work for Microsoft. I have an Xbox One Series X. My son does. He's got one. And my wife and my daughter has the Series S. So we have both of those consoles. And then behind me, I don't know if you can kind of see the little white light right about there. That's actually the Scorpio edition, Project Scorpio edition series, the Xbox One X, not the Series X, but the X. And it died on me this year in the move. The hard drive went out. And so what I did is I went and I took it and I went online and I just went to YouTube. You can find it. There's 1,000 of YouTube videos on this. And what I did is I bought an SSD for it instead of a regular hard drive, and I reloaded the thing with an SSD. And I also have and because I added more storage, I basically put all my games on it, and I take that thing and I move it and with me. So whenever I'm going to go to, let's say we're going to go to a timeshare for a week, I'll take it so that my son can play, and I load up all the games on the thing so it's loaded up, and I also take it and stick it in the RV, and you can sit outside my RV because the wireless controllers work through walls. So you can be sitting outside my RV with the TV while we're at a racetrack. And I was at Road Atlanta this year for Petit Le Mans in our RV, and I'm sitting driving the racetrack of Road Atlanta while the cars are going around and everybody's just laughing. They're like, this is hilarious, right? So being able to do that has been an interesting thing. I would say, is the Xbox upgrades worth the money? If you need a new Xbox, because you can still play all the games. They haven't really made a difference. The TV behind me can't do 4K, so I don't really care. The only one place I really care will be in my upstairs, but it does 4K, but it won't do high frame rate. And so if you don't really have the ability to do that, I think my recommendation would be go find a 1X. You could even find one that the drive's gone bad in. Pick that thing up, drop yourself in a 2 terabyte SSD. That's as big as you can go, by the way. And then basically to go through the process.
200 for that 2 terabyte, probably, right?
Yeah, something like that. It wasn't very expensive.
SSD. It's SATA. SATA connection, regular SSD.
Yeah, it's a regular SATA SSD.
How do you get the operating system back on there?
So there's a process where you can go download it, and then you have to go through a little process to make it go and recover it. Like if you've ever taken an Xbox, if you've ever went into recovery mode on one, it'll say that you can restore it from a thumb drive. And that's basically the way it does it. The BIOS on the thing boots it, and then you put the thumb drive in, and you can go download online the proper thing. It's just there's a few tricks that you have to put in to make sure that it knows how big the drive is. So there's like little tools to partition the drive. So if you're going to do it, you're going to need one of those little USB carriers that you can get on Amazon for like $5 or $10 to put the SSD in to get it formatted right and get everything ready. And then you'll have to have a USB drive.
Just a little USB dock, right? That the
SSD, you don't have one. You need one.
They're $12 or $13. Yeah, you can. They're not very expensive.
Yeah, matter of
Well,
fact, there's even somewhere you can just get a cable and it makes a USB,
probably.
and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
nothing major.
It's good to have. It's always good to have one of those little docks, though, right? If you're going to be doing some of this stuff, I have used those. I've got I have a 4-bay dock, I have a 2-bay dock, and I have a 1-bay dock, and they just come in handy from time to time. You never know. So, you mentioned playing the Xbox. I moved ours to the living room so Sarah could use it for the Blu-ray.
Yep.
But I can stream it. I can fire up the Xbox app back here with the controller pointed this way. It's behind me, and it's in the other room behind me, and I can do things on it while it's streaming to here. It's super cool. Like, doesn't you don't have to have line of sight. You don't even need to be that close to it. It was weird the first time I brought it back here, and I could hear the navigation, that dang, dang, when you're navigating through. I could hear those on the TV behind me, but it was doing it right here. Some games, not that won't work for all games, but it was pretty cool to be able to play it or to manage it remotely.
Yeah, no, that's it's pretty crazy because the console stuff is kind of evolving anyway, and so I think we're going to see some very interesting aspects of it. I think the difference, really, what you're seeing the difference becoming is like how many frames per second do you want and how clear do you want it? It's like playing PC gaming, and I actually like that it's going there because PC gaming, to me, I actually prefer it to console gaming. But I prefer it because I like to be able to invest in some hardware and get a better experience in the same game. But it doesn't mean that I want to prohibit somebody else from being able to play the game because they can't afford the nicer hardware, right? It just means that their resolution will be slightly less or their frames per second. And then there's games that don't matter for that. And, so it just depends. Like, I really like Civilization. It's like my wife hates Civilization because of the fact that it makes me go away for like 3 days to play one game. But the thing is, I like that, and I got into Tropico 6 lately, which is kind of fun if you haven't played that game. These are older games, but if you've got like a really cool graphics card and stuff, the graphics difference in it is so much. It makes an old game feel new, and I just think that's kind of cool. And I think that's where the Xboxes are sort of going. But you kind of have to have a TV to handle it. So if you don't have the right pairing, then I think you could probably save yourself a few bucks. The SSD did seem to improve performance and game loads as well.
Why wouldn't it? What was in there before? What'd you pull out?
Oh, it's a I think I have it right here next to me in this drawer. I think it was this drive.
Why wouldn't you?
So it's like a Seagate Momentus Thin drive.
Wow.
So that's funny that I can just be like, oh, I think it's right here.
Well, those small spinners are not very.
Yeah, it's 5,400 RPM drives, and
you'd get a lot of improvement.
Yeah. So, well, not only that, you also think about it. I'm putting in an RV now, and if it's bumping up and down, I don't have to worry about it. So, I think in general, that was it was kind of a cool experience. The fact that it broke, and then I was able to fix it. But the thing that made it really neat was the fact that that I kind of made the longevity of it better, and I felt like I sort of improved it. Now I will tell you something that will freak you out, Jim. You want to go old school?
Yes.
You want to go old school?
Do it.
Home Gadget Geeks 354.
Okay, that was a while ago.
Make your notes, boys and girls. Home Gadget Geeks 354. Jim, when was Home Gadget Geeks 354? Can you find the date on that sucker?
Yeah, well, you keep talking and I'll find the date.
So what this episode is about is creating the Retro Pi. When I got a Raspberry Pi and I started making a gaming system out of that. Jim, do you know where that is?
That's May 5th, 2018 is where the date on that. And
this is how good Home Gadget Geeks is when I'm on, is that it pays dividends for years, because if I reach into this bag, I'm pretty sure that there is the Raspberry Pi. And you know why it's in my bag? Because when I go to the hotels, I throw my Xbox controller into my bag and I play Mike Tyson's Punch Out and Mario Brothers, and I took it to we went to Florida in one of our timeshares this year, and my kids were all like playing Mario Brothers, and we were all laughing at how bad my kids are that can hit every single button for Call of Duty and Fortnite and everything, but they couldn't handle Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, and they were just getting so frustrated because they kept dying. And I'm like, ha, see, these games actually do take some effort. So man, I'm telling you, that thing. Oh, if you can go back to that episode and see how I made that thing is awesome. It's just, and I still use it. And my wife and I sat for an entire day in Florida in a timeshare playing Mario Brothers and Mike Tyson's Punch Out. And then I did also play some Tecmo Bowl. So it's just really good. Now, I do not support nor ask you to go and download illegal software of the game ROMs. You should buy them and own them. Thank you.
If you want to get that episode, go to theaverageguy.tv/HGG354. We'll get you there back to May of 2018. Before the whole crypto, that's even before the crypto craze.
I know. Think about this. This is before crypto became a thing for you, Jim. That's how good paying attention to when I get to come in. Sometimes we find some good stuff.
I know.
But I've evolved now.
Right.
I've evolved into, I decided, Jim, and I don't know why. Why did I decide in the time frame that I am not traveling to make the investments and figuring out mobile gaming better? I have no idea why this is the case, but here's the thing. I believe, this is just my belief, that you can believe what you want to believe, but I'm going to believe what I believe. I believe that this is the year, Jim. This is the year that we're going to be able to get out of our house.
I think so.
So I feel like I'm making an investment in the future. So just like episode 354, what I'm about to lay on you is the thing that will help you beyond in the years to come, Jim. And so what I've been really focused on is my son is super into, like, I don't know if I had told you about this, but my son, when COVID hit, one of the things I sat down is I said, I want my son, who's going to be stuck at the house and he can't do anything, I want him to take an interest in things that I like. So I told him, I'll pay for you to get a desktop if you will build a computer. And I will sit down with you. We will pick out the parts together. I'll let you make all the decisions. But you have to build it. And he agreed to do it, and he loves it. We can't get him to play with the Xbox Series X because he's too busy, because you know what he did with his money over the summer? He decided that he came up to me, he goes, Dad, I want a new monitor. I'm like, why do you want a new monitor? He goes, because I need more FPS, Dad. And I was like, proud dad moment, right?
Nice.
And so he built him a computer, and he's got a full-on gaming rig with RGB and everything. And then he won a gaming desk for his birthday, and he's got the whole setup, and he loves to play computer games. And so I decided, I was like, well, I like gaming, he likes gaming, so maybe I should figure out some of this, especially like if I'm in the RV, how can we do this? And I don't really want to do the whole Xbox thing all the time because it's pain. So what I ended up doing is I got a hold. So I know a lot of people here are like Apple people, but Apple hates for you to do anything fun. So they won't allow game streaming.
That's not true, but it is kind of true. Yes.
Yeah,
it is.
So if you can kind of see here, if you got the video, if you don't have the video, I have this thing here, which is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 with the keyboard thing. And by the way, if you get the keyboard thing, it comes off and there's still the thing attached to the back, which holds the pen and also gives you like a surface type of thing. But this thing is actually just held on by magnets as well. But the thing is, and I'm hitting all kinds of buttons on it. What I've done is I got this thing because you can run Game Pass Ultimate on it. And with you doing that, you can basically turn this into an Xbox. And with me working at Microsoft, we got to play with it before everybody kind of got it and everything. So I knew it was coming, and you needed to be on Android and stuff like that. So I got this thing, and we've been playing Xbox on it through Game Pass, which is pretty awesome. And then all you really need to be able to do it is you need a Xbox controller. And when you do an Xbox controller, there is a secret to knowing whether or not it supports Bluetooth or not. It has a lot to do with the where the shiny parts are on it. So, and I think I covered that in one of the episodes. It probably was in the 345 one, or 354 one,
Yep.
where we kind of talked about this. So what you want is you want the Bluetooth edition of it, which if you buy any of the new ones, they're all Bluetooth capable. And then you just pair it up, and you've got yourself sort of like a portable gaming system that you can walk around with and play. And now they've even got the EA games on it, which is really nice. So my son will play Madden and all that type of stuff. I would say for shooters, depends on your connection. If you want to, if you're on Wi-Fi, you're not going to have any problems with it. If you're on an LTE connection, it'll work if you have a good signal. If you've got a good LTE signal, you won't have any issues with it. But it'll just be that one time when you go in for the kill shot and you're like, oh. So think of it like I really like Ori and games and stuff like that on it. It's really, really awesome. And so the difference is, if you'll click on that see all plans there, Jim, I think one of the things a lot of people will ask about is the difference between like Ultimate and the others. And the big difference between it is that if you'll sign up for Ultimate, and my recommendation is, I think there's a way to do it where you can do it for a year. You'd have to look and see. But in general, what the difference is that you get the ability to have the games for your PC, and you get it where you can play it streaming, and you get it on the Xbox. So you get all of those mediums for all of the games. And so it's really, really nice, because you can, don't think of it like it replaces an Xbox. I think that was the mistake of Stadia, in my opinion. Is Stadia is like this whole, we're going to replace everything, you don't even need a gaming console. I don't feel that you can handle the latency for, like, if you're really into shooters and stuff. But if you're on the road and you want to play and you don't want to deal with that, then you can install it on your PC and you can do it that way. Or if it's not offered on that, then you can stream it from the cloud. And if you're on a Wi-Fi connection, it's going to be pretty good. I mean, it's going to be like what you would get in Stadia, maybe a little better. So I think those type of things coming out, and the whole move toward the cloud being able to extend it, I don't think you want to say that's my only way of doing it. But when you're out and about and you want to play a game, you want to play Madden, you want to play against other people, like, because the other thing is you can literally play against all of your buddies on Xbox Gold and everything. So it's kind of nice that you can do that. Now I will say that the other little hidden gem, so I bought it for that. That was the reason I bought it. And I had the S5e before, the Galaxy Tab S5e. And I'm just going to go ahead and give you one of the things I would recommend. That I'm going to talk a lot about Samsung stuff. Samsung does this thing that is sort of like Apple, but in my opinion, better. And let me explain what I mean by that. The Galaxy Tab S5e, they gave me almost as much as I paid for it to trade it in for this other device. So when I have, like, I put in the show notes how much these things cost. I'll give you an example when I get to the phone line. Because I feel like that gives you an idea of how much they will give you if you will stay with them, because they're way more competitive than Apple is, for the most part. So, but what I got is I got that keyboard case on it, and I ended up with something I didn't expect, Jim. Have you ever heard of something called DeX?
No. Mm-mm.
So DeX is this thing Samsung's done where you can make Android where it looks like Windows and it has like overlaying window capability and the apps can run, and it basically turns it into sort of a desktop. And so when you get, unlike an iPad, which I have an iPad Pro as well back here, the iPad, even if you get the keyboard, it still doesn't really have a touchpad or anything. And even if you do have that, it's like a mouse experience. It's not a real mouse experience. On Android, it's full on like a PC. And so when you put this keyboard on it, it had something. I don't know if you noticed that this keyboard cover has a trackpad. So you hit a key combination on this thing and it converts it into DeX mode, and you can actually feel like you're running a real full-on computer system. It's running Android apps, and you had the limitation of that. But in general, you can kind of make do with it being a computer-like device. I don't want to say it's a computer. It's better than an iPad Pro when it comes to productivity, because I can have floating windows and I can move them side by side. So I could have a chat app and my mail app open, and at the same time, and I'm seeing them, and I'm not doing this weird split screen thing. It's in Windows, and I can minimize it, and just like in a regular Windows or Macintosh operating system. So I think that was actually an unseen kind of cool thing I got. But I think that's kind of cool to do that. And that was where I started down this mobile thing, and I was like, hey, that's cool. Maybe I should go bigger. And so, of course, where did I go next, Jim? I was like, well, I gotta do it when I'm driving in the car. And we're on a road trip, and the kids are in the back of the Tesla, and I wanted to make it where like I could have a way to play like when I'm on the road. So I had tested this thing with LTE. I knew it would work. And I knew it would work pretty good. Maybe not for a shooter, but like I said, I like games that are a little less that way whenever I'm mobile. And my kids had, what do you call that? Switch. They had a Switch. And a Switch is cool. It's great. I don't really want to rebuy every game. And I don't know, maybe I'm being cheap, but I don't really think what I do is cheaper. So what I ended up deciding to do is I have this phone, that I keep. So for those that haven't kept up with me, I always keep an iPhone and an Android phone, and I always stay on the most popular one, which this is a Galaxy S25G, and this is a iPhone 11 Pro. My iPhone I upgrade once every 2 years. My Android phone I upgrade every year, and I'll explain why in a sec. But what I did is I took this thing when I had it, and I said, let's go for a mobile experience that would allow me to play games. And we started off with like pairing the Bluetooth controller to it and having like a little thing to hold it up, and that really doesn't scale. So then what we decided to do,
Dwayne, this is on the 21. This is on the S21 that you're doing this.
Yeah, it's on the, well, no, this is the S20. Okay.
Okay.
So what I ended up getting is something called, I started looking at, well, how can I do this and make it more like a Switch, if you must, because I like the idea of the Switch, but I just feel like it's wasted space in my bag. So what I ended up getting is this, which is called a Razer Kishi. And it actually won like a lot of awards in CES a few years, I think about a year ago. And it has these latches, and it lets go in the back, and the back piece comes off, and you can see it's stretchy, if that makes sense. And then inside of it has a USB-C connection. And the way that it works is you just take your phone, and I'm going to put the Samsung phone in there. And now you have something that looks like a Switch. And it's powered through the USB-C. Now, some people will ask, well, what about charging it? And it does have a power output right back here. And so all of that is great. And you end up with the thumbsticks and everything, and you got rockers and all that. So it's actually really cool. to do this. And the only issue I had with this is that the phone that I got the small version of the Samsung phone. And I was like, well, now that I'm doing this, it wouldn't be bad to have a bigger screen to do it. But I will say, if this is running that ladder case, if you know Lou Later or later case, whatever you want to call it, I don't know. I run those because they are always thin. So pretty much I had this thing, and then my son, I decided that I wanted to check out for him, and yes, they make an iPhone version. The only difference is xCloud, or I guess it's not xCloud, it's Game Pass Ultimate, is not available on Apple devices because Apple won't allow it in their App Store. And
they're
so
against fun, Dwayne. They are against fun.
They don't like me, and so that began the path of me saying, I think this year I'm probably going to move off of an Apple iPhone. And whatever, maybe they watch this, Jim, because they watch your show all the time.
Oh, totally.
And
I get calls from Tim Cook all the time, like, hey.
Well, the other problem was my son couldn't play Fortnite anymore. So he can't play Fortnite. You can't play what do you call it? Game Pass Ultimate. Sorry, they called it xCloud for so freaking long inside of Microsoft that it's tough for me. So anyway, what I would say is just be aware. I do believe that this is going to come to a resolution. I believe that there will be a way that we will work around this, and so will other game streaming services on the iPhone. I anticipate it'll probably be through the web over time. I think that's the current thought process I've heard of. But in general, just be, that's kind of the negative on an iPhone is that you can't do that. So now, what you see is my son wants my Android phone all the time. So what I did do is, because, and this is where I wanted to go with the whole Samsung thing. So this is I just got it. Matter of fact, Jim, we rescheduled, right, for this to arrive. And this is the Galaxy, let's see, what is it? The Galaxy S21 Ultra 5G. Their naming is horrible. Anyway, so this is the Mac Daddy phone, and I waited to get the special color, which is why Jim couldn't talk to me earlier. And Jim, you wouldn't have talked to me anyway earlier because with the snowstorm, it delayed this thing massively getting delivered. And when I went to go, like I said, I always upgrade my Android phone every year with Samsung. And I just want to give you context to the deal that Samsung was running when this phone came out. Okay. So this is the Galaxy S20, and this is the 21. This phone, which, keep in mind, I traded in the S10 to get this phone. I think I might have paid around $400 to trade to get this phone. Samsung gave me $700 on trade for this phone to trade to this phone. And if you wanted to get the other phone, like the lower end ones, they still give you $700. But the other thing to get you to take this phone over their lower end phones, they gave me $200 of additional stuff that I could buy, accessories from their store that you could go and buy. So in the end, they gave me $900 for a phone that I paid $400 for a year ago. And in return, I ended up with this thing, and which is, by the way, the higher end phone. So in the end, I think I paid about $550 for this thing. And the cameras on it, I'll just give you the cameras are insane on the thing. And with the $200 that they gave me to be able to get this thing, I had the ability to pick up some other things that I normally wouldn't even buy, to be honest with you. And that was these, which are the Pro headphones that basically are their competitors to the iPod Pros. They're not as good as iPod Pros, but they're for free. I'll take them any day. And so I have the black ones of those. And yes, when you open it up, it does all the crazy things like an iPod would. And then they also gave me this, which is a controller with a clip mechanism here. So if you don't like the Kishi, because it's more like it's more like the Nintendo Switch style. If you're more into I want it to feel like a real Xbox controller, then this is what they basically would give this to you for free. And this is rechargeable in Bluetooth, and it has a clip mechanism that holds on. You can pull this off and use it as an Xbox controller if you want, but it has this little stretchy clip thing. Now, I've tested this, and I've tested the Kishi. I personally prefer using the Kishi because it takes up a little less room, but I believe, and I don't like this clipping thing. It seems like it'll hit the power button a lot. So is it a bad deal? I mean, the thing's $70 normally. And not only that, they also packaged it with 3 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to come with it. So I got all of that with the phone, $700 in trade, and I got this, so that now when I take this and I put it into the Kishi, it will pretty much do it. Notice that it's not in a case. So the negative on this phone is that this phone has a massive camera bump. I don't know if I can make it be seen.
Hold on, let me zoom in on you.
Yeah, it's got a massive camera bump right here, which makes the phone really.
So does the iPhone 12. So does the iPhone 12.
But I don't think it goes all the way to the rim like this. And so
no, but
and so
it's still pretty wonky here, Dwayne. I mean, I have a case that overcomes the bump.
Oh, but, yeah.
You know.
Well, the issue, it will fit into the Kishi, but you got to take it out of the case to be able to make it do it. And like I said, I'm running the thinnest case that I can get, which is this one, the case from Blue Lighter. And so that's the only negative, but I will say that it runs insanely well. It's got Wi-Fi 6, and like I said earlier, I upgraded my home to Wi-Fi 6, which means that I can get the full gigabit speeds over wireless Wi-Fi to my internet connection, and it's really amazing. I mean, this is the most compelling thing I've ever seen to make me want to get off of an iPhone. And I will say that as long as you don't mind it being a big phone, like if you're a big phone person, take a look at it, because you can sideload your applications, you can get Fortnite, you can get all the Microsoft stuff on it. Even the Kishi even gives you a game launcher and everything. So I just feel like you can put a launcher on it that works with your controller and stuff. Like, you just don't get that kind of stuff on the Apple side. Will the Apple one work? Yes, if you play little shooters, you will be the best person playing shooters on your iPhone ever if you go get a Kishi, and people will be pissed at you. But again, I think that it's sort of like a really interesting thing as we start to play in that. So the last thing I did, Jim, that I wanted to bring up is that I got these and I was like, man, I don't know. Am I really gonna? Because you asked like, what is in my bag, and the one thing is I travel so much, and when I was before that, I kind of think about like what's gonna go in my laptop bag and what's not gonna make the cut, and I've got so many things in my bag that it just gets really heavy. And what I've been running in the past, and matter of fact,
you ever lose something in your bag that like you forgot you even had it? You're going back through your bag and you're like, oh, I forgot I had these things.
So, Jim, I've been so bad at this that I have put something in my bag. Matter of fact, I have it right here. The case for my Jabra headset.
Yeah.
That, because it sits inside. It sits inside like this, right? And so I have literally lost the case inside my bag and had to buy another case. And then when I found it in my bag on a trip 2 months later and went, holy crap, I had to buy that stupid thing. Now I have 2 of them. so I'm literally like, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that your bag gets to that level. So that's why I'm like, I'm kind of trying to control it a bit, which is why the Kishi might not make the cut it might be that I end up with this in it because of the fact that I can use this to plug into the Raspberry Pi because it's an Xbox controller with a USB connection. So what I was using, and if you go back to, I think it was like 431. I'm just going to double check this. I think in 431, yep, we talked about this. We talked about the Jabra Elite Active 65Ts. I had bought those. Now, since then, I picked up the 75Ts. And I know people are going to be like, well, why the heck did you do that? And it's because I'm an idiot and I don't want to carry more chargers than I have to. And these have USB-C, and the 65s had micro USB, and I got tired of carrying that thing around. So these open up and they've got the little view and everything. But they did something with these while I owned them, Jim, which was I couldn't believe that they did this. They actually put out a firmware update that added active noise cancellation to them after they shipped them. I have and I'm not talking like a couple of weeks or a couple of months. I'm talking almost like 8 months later. I get a firmware update that added active noise cancellation to these things, and I was like, that's pretty crazy. And so I started going, well, can I compare these two and which ones are better? And here's the answer, boys and girls. If you get these for free, take them all day and run with them.
These are what? If you get what?
The Samsung Pros. These things, they're great. They have a feature in them that I really like, which is they'll. Have you ever been in the airport and you're wanting to talk to somebody and your earphones are on and you can't hear yourself and all that type of stuff? Those have a feature where if you start talking, it turns the volume down and turns on the ambient noise amplified so you can hear yourself through and hear the person who's talking to you. And then when you shut up for 10 seconds, which never happens for me, they turn back on and they actually turn back on the noise cancellation and everything. And they do it completely seamlessly. You don't touch anything. That is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
They're almost worth putting in my bag just for the airport.
Right.
But these suckers,
which are
the Jabras.
Right.
Sorry. I know. We're on
McCabe. Listen, McCabe just busted my chops a couple weeks ago that I don't do enough audio cues. So I'm just trying to adhere to the McCabe.
So the McCabe, you're killing me. So the Jabra 75Ts, these suckers, I'm telling you, I went through this whole thing because I started calling my friends and I was listening to music and I kept flipping on Spotify and I flipped the same song on and I have these Bose Quietcomfort 35s, which is my go-to for like on an airplane.
Ones or twos.
I have the ones. The twos weren't out when I got them.
Yeah, me too.
And those are like my favorite that I've ever owned. Right. These sound almost as good as the Bose. They are actually more bass responsive and high-end lively than you will ever believe. I cannot recommend these the Jabra 75Ts any more than you could possibly imagine. And I'm actually wanting to see what happens with the 85Ts that have come out. But those things for $149, you've got to be kidding me. And it will work on an iPhone, it will work on Android, and they work all the same. And they're made by Jabra, and they've got good software. Everything is great. They have graphic equalizer controls and everything. The buttons and all that work really, really great on them. They do phone calls pretty well because they're made by Jabra. But the thing, I don't like my ears to be plugged when I'm talking on the phone. So, but I will tell you that I started listening to them and I was like, will these things get out of my bag? Will I actually make a change? Because I wanted some good ones to be able to play the game so you can get the good bass response when you go boom, boom, and stuff. So I thought that was pretty funny that I didn't even expect to go into that stuff, but what the result was to this whole gaming thing. So I would say that, if you're into it on the Android phone side, let's just say that you decide that you actually want to go mobile gaming. Don't go buy an expensive phone. I have taken a phone that I got in India made by a company called Vivo and tested using the Game Pass Ultimate on it. It doesn't use any of the compute on the phone. So you might as well, if you just want it for that, just throw it in. Like, if you're trying to go all in one and you don't want to carry something, I mean, you could just go buy that and that be your gaming system. You could probably get it for about the same price as you would pay for a Kishi if you got the Android version, which is $79.99. If you got that and you got one of these, go get a used 2-year-old Android phone that just make sure it's USB-C and be able to pop that thing in, and you would have yourself a mobile gaming system just like that, right? And if you're wanting to even keep it even cheaper, there is this new plan that Microsoft offered. I haven't really played with it, but it's basically if you want a new Xbox console, they will sell you an Xbox console plus the Game Pass Ultimate subscription for a monthly fee, and then after a certain amount of time, you don't have to continue the subscription.
2 years. I think it's 2 years.
I think it's 2 years.
35, $40.
And if you're going to pay for Game Pass Ultimate anyway, you might as well just do that.
Yeah.
And so that way you have that. You've already got that. Ends up with a console. You get PC gaming. You get mobile gaming and everything. And you could do it for pretty cheap. I mean, you don't have to go have the best things. Now, if you're like me and you're a gadget person and you want to know what's the king of the Android phone world, it's this phone. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I really think it's this phone. But if you're not into that and you just want something to throw in your bag and play with it, because the other thing is it'll eat your battery when you're doing this. And when I say that, it'll eat your battery because your screen's on, and such. So just be aware that that's going on. One thing that I will bring up is that if you do go with the what was it called, Jim? I think they called this the Moga, the Power A Moga XP5. This actually has a battery pack in it, and you can see there's plugs in the back, so it can actually plug in with a cable to your phone and power your phone from the battery pack on the controller. So if you want to look at something like that, I think that's kind of a cool concept. And like I said, if you also want to carry around your Raspberry Pi, this will work with it, and you can use it on an Xbox if you'd like. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, there's all the cables for it right there. And they give you the short ones so that you can plug it right into your phone and everything. So it's like I said, it's not a bad option if you're okay with the clippy thing. And I think if people looking for a good way to do it, I mean, you're in it for next to nothing. And if you're doing like me with a Samsung, the thing was free basically and it came with 3 months to try it out. So again, it really comes down to what you want. But I think there's a lot going on in the space. I think we will see this get even more compelling over time. There's some stuff that I can't talk about, but I will say that absolutely gaming has become a major business for Microsoft. And so betting in that space is a really good spot. And I think it's only going to be more and more value. It's just going to keep coming with more and more value. And I see that being the future of kind of how gaming is. It's not about, sure, you need to, you want to play on a console, you'll get the best experience on the console, but it's being able to bring that with you without having to bring that physical box with you like I'm doing with my RV. And, I feel like that's the thing. And Jim, when you get into a hotel room and you plug your phone in, think about this. You could take your phone and you carry an HDMI hookup for it. You plug that thing into your TV at the hotel and you have a Bluetooth controller like this, and you're sitting over here and you're playing Xbox on your stuff without having to worry about any of the other stuff. I mean, the reality is I'm doing this and it works, and it's pretty awesome if you start getting into the space. I think super innovative. Yeah. And I really think it's going to be awesome to see what happens there.
Take a breather for a second. Couple things on this along these lines. One is I think they're offering $1 for the first month, right? Xbox Game Ultimate Pass is $1. If you can't do $1, if you actually use and you sign in with your Microsoft account, you use Edge and Bing to search. They have some Bing games.
Good point.
They have a whole rewards program, and I've gamed this thing before. You can get a couple thousand points. Well, you can get more than that in a month pretty easily. So you need, I think now it's like 12,000 points, get you a free month. you can get the kids involved, get the wife involved, have fun with this, and you can get 1 month or 3 months. It's a way to do it. It's kind of fun. Sarah is actually a trivia. She loves trivia. So I used to sit down in the evenings and we'd go through all the trivia. And I think you get, I don't know, 10, 15, 25 points, whatever, just for going through their trivia stuff. And so we had fun. We had fun with that for a while. So if you haven't gone to that, give it a try. Dwayne, you'd probably be shocked. I'm actually, so you talked about some of your changes. Since I've seen you last, I'm actually doing this on a Mac Mini M1. So the PC,
really?
the PC's gone. Mac Mini M1. You got an M1 close to you somewhere? What are you showing me? Here, hold on. Let's zoom in. There you go. When did you get it? How long have you had it? And have you had any monitor problems?
I actually don't. So that's not why it's sitting there.
Okay.
That is not an M1.
Oh, okay.
That is a $300 eBay Express i7 with 16 gigs of RAM and a 500 gig SSD that I got for $300.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it got it loaded. I don't care that it doesn't run the latest thing because there's a piece of software called AirMessage. If you haven't played with this, it gives you iMessage on your Android phone.
Oh, nice.
So that's why it sits there. It's the server for my iMessage because I'm sick and tired of when I switch that I have to worry about am I blue bubble or green bubble.
Well, it very similar. So you would not even recognize the studio at this point. It's got, I bought the 12 on the show on launch day. Then I got some M1 Envy and I just wanted to have one. So I picked up one of those and I've been enjoying it so far. It's not without its flaws.
Oh, you should get one of these.
What do I got there?
This is a Surface Duo.
Have you liked it? You use it very much?
So here's the crazy thing.
Hold it. Open it back up. Hold it back up to the screen for a second. Talk about it.
So here's what it looks like on that side, and then it looks like this on this side. So there's no outside cameras.
Still selling those things? Can you even buy one?
Yeah, you can get them. Yeah. I don't know what they're selling them for. I bought it from the employee store. But here's the thing. It's better than an iPad Pro for productivity scenarios. I would use it. The problem is the timing. The timing sucked for this because I got it right as soon as I couldn't travel. Yeah. And it would be perfect for a travel thing to replace my iPad because it's so small. I can throw it in my pocket when I'm getting on the plane and then watching movies on it and everything, setting it up like this or setting it like a tent where you fold it like a tent. And everything, all of that stuff works great. Like it really does. I mean, can it be your phone? It can be your phone, but it's not a phone in the sense of a phone. And it is the weirdest thing because you have to own one to get it, and it's an expensive thing to just go get, right? I mean. It's not inexpensive, and I have the 256 one. What is the price point on it? So right now they're wanting $1,100 for it. Yeah. And is it worth $1,100? Tough one for me to answer. What I would say is if I was on the plane and I was doing those international flights, man, that would be nice because it can sit at any angle. I can flip it around. I mean, it really is nice. People who think that you're going to watch stuff across the gap, no. The fact that I can hit a button and have my calendar and my email side by side, like that really is a whole lot better than my iPad that only has my email on this big screen. So it really annoys me that the timing of the COVID stuff hit. And so I can't really answer the question because I can't take it somewhere on a business trip like I want. And I think at a conference, Jim, it would be insanely good because you could have your schedule up and then you could be checking your email and just keep the schedule on one screen for the conference and stuff. And so it would be very helpful. And if you use LastPass, I know They're not a
Mhm.
sponsor for you anymore because I asked you
No.
about this. And LastPass, darn you, come back. Anyway, so
I just bought their premium, by the way. I bought their premium. So
yeah, so did I.
Yeah.
Great product, even if
Yeah.
they aren't a sponsor
Right.
any longer. But doing LastPass, you ever had that where you have an app and you got to open LastPass and you got to copy and paste get it from because the app's not intelligent enough to communicate
or whatever.
That thing is so nice because you have LastPass up and you go copy it and then drop it and then and so stuff like that is just really I don't know it. If we can travel again, Jim, I'll answer the question.
We'll travel again, Dwayne. We'll travel. We'll be out there again. We'll be out there again. Hey, we're gonna in the post, we're gonna so if you can you hang out with me for a little bit on post? We'll catch up with a little bit of your work. So if you're listening to the live show, if you're listening to the podcast version of this, head over to Patreon and actually head over to our live page. That's the best way to do it. Just search The Average Guy TV on YouTube. And you can catch, like if you're listening to the audio and you're only getting the record show, you can catch the post show. We're gonna do a little bit of bonus content with Dwayne, talk a little bit about what's going on, and then wait, I didn't see this until we were halfway through the show. I do want to talk about this little SpaceX incident from yesterday. So
we've got to talk about that.
Don't say anything. I want to save it for the end here. But Dwayne, always appreciate your insight on these things, and thanks for kind of catching us up. It's always fun. You've always got your hands in a ton of gadgets. Speaking of that, I just got my Sprint to T-Mobile conversion kit. So, they merged, and it looks like we're going to stay pink at this point. So I think we're picking up all the pink from T-Mobile. But they sent me, I've never seen this before. They sent me new SIM cards. So with instructions, hold on, let me see if this is look at how's this for a box experience. Oh, hold on, that one was taped. Let's do this one. I cut the tape. There we go.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? And so
for those on audio, Jim has a thing that looks like a credit card, and he's pulling it out, and it slides out the other side in like a common pattern that goes 3 wide. It's really cool.
It's kind of cool. Well, so over here is the SIM tool, right? Let's see if I get the things right. Over here on the left-hand side is the SIM tool. So that's what I use to get into the phone. And then over here's the new SIM.
They should make a wallet like this where you can put your ID like that.
I know, it's kind of cool.
Who are you? Boom.
Yeah. Here I am. So I got 2 of these, one for me and one for Samantha. And I guess I'll be upgrading. They're saying we'll get better network connectivity when we make the upgrade.
So Jim, I have to give us a plug for the next time, because you and I talked about this, and the next time I come on, we are going to talk in the real show, the full show. You and I have to talk about my new infatuation with kitchen gadgets.
Oh yeah.
So we need to talk. We need to do that, because I have had some. I have some really cool stuff that I'm doing there. I really love where that's going.
Might have to do a whole kitchen show with you.
That's what I'm saying. No, we need to do this.
Yeah.
And I think you have another guest that's into this.
Oh yeah, we got a couple guests that are into this. So it's super good. Well, okay, hold that thought 1 second. Let me close things up for this part of the podcast, and then we'll do some bonus content. Don't forget, if you want to support us on Patreon or Supercast, I guess is what it is now, head out. Well, not what that is. Head out to Patreon, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon, if you want to join that. By the way, if you join us on Patreon, pay the $5. We have a $5 plan. I'll send you a little Home Gadget Geeks badge, and then you'll also get the full pre and post show in that feed. It's just a part of it. A simple way to get there and get that done. So if you want to join us over there, you don't have to, but if you want to, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. If you want to try us on Supercast, or you just want to check it out, go to theaverageguy.tv/Supercast, kind of a Patreon alternative. So give it a try. If you want to join us in the Discord group, and Uyghur's pretty active out there, a lot of conversations going on. In fact, a big conversation, Unraid 6.9 just dropped. We'll be talking about that next week when Uyghur gets back. A lot of that conversation going on in the Discord group. Join us, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Still love to hear your message. So if you want to leave me a message, Jim Shoemaker left us a message last week or the week before. If you want to leave a message, anything, question, comment, whatever, head over to homegadgetgeeks.com, and there's a microphone in the bottom right-hand corner. Just click on it. You got 30 seconds. Leave us something funny, something serious. Leave us a question. We'd love to hear from you as well. If you want to send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. You can find me on Twitter @jcollison, and big thanks to Jay Madison, who's our guest last week. I see Joe out there. Tony Rayner always posts the show has gone live. If you want to join us out there, Jay Collison. And actually, Tony, you tweeted that I was thinking about buying a Tesla Model 3. Dwayne, you and I were talking about that earlier, and my boss just liked it. So there's that. I'm sure I'm going to get a conversation about, buying a Tesla, huh? So that's probably coming up as well. My boss sometimes watches the show.
Does it really drive itself, Jim?
Well, he's either he's got one or he's thinking about getting one. So we've got. I'm sure I'll have a conversation there about that. Then don't forget the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. You know that's Christian. Check out the plans. Start as little as $10 a month to get you up and running on, I think, some of the best hosting in the land. Check it out, maplegrovepartners.com. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. Dwayne, I wish I had someone to bring me a beer because I could use one right now. We'll be back.
You're over there.
Yeah. Could you hold it?
It's funny if it went actually through.
Hold on. We do this. We'll do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
We're back next Thursday with Uyghur and some Unraid talk. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Brian says Home Gadget Geeks After Dark. I guess that I never thought about that, but who knows what Jim will buy? I've been known to buy a few things on the show after the show. Dwayne,
can I say that I love that?
Yeah.
That you added this.
The tweets. Yeah. Yeah. Part of StreamYard.
That's pretty darn cool.
Yeah. Justin says we need another cigar show with Ed. Okay. I'll tell Ed that.
You need to put up the one Justin said before that. Because that's the truth, baby.
Yeah.
I love the post show.
Okay, Dwayne, catch us up. What's going on at work? What can you tell us? What's cool?
Before we do that, I had one thing for you. I don't know if you've played with one of these, and I haven't even opened the box yet. This is called a smart tag that Samsung sent me. Do you know anything about these?
We've talked about them, but I don't know. I've never used one. No.
And it has a thing to put it on your dog, put it on your luggage, and put it on your keys.
It's like, it'll help you find it again if it gets lost.
Okay. I guess I'll play with it. They gave it to me for free. This is another thing they gave me for free.
Yeah.
As part of the
intention is put it on keys or things that you're losing.
I'm going to put it on my kids and see if I can track my kids.
Just slip it in the backpack or something.
Yeah, seriously. I don't understand how it could work away from the phone. So I don't know if it just is like a proximity thing.
It's called a Samsung tag.
Yeah, it's called I don't know. It says Galaxy on this side. And then it says Smart Tag Samsung here.
Yeah, it looks like. So is it this one? Here, let me share my screen.
I didn't talk about it because of the fact that I don't even know what it is or how it works.
Is it that one?
This one says Galaxy Smart Tag.
Yep.
It.
Yep. This is it. Samsung Galaxy Smart Tag.
So I don't know. I guess it's confusing to me. It says it's Bluetooth. Well, if it's Bluetooth, it only work within a range of Bluetooth. So I don't know how useful that is.
No, you can't. They're not going to sell this thing. Let's see.
No, that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
And see, that's the other thing is it will tell you where you're, like if you put it in your luggage and you know what?
So it's nearby. It's for nearby. Like it's like to find your keys. It's not like if the dog runs away for 2 weeks. It's not one of those kinds of things. Like it's close by.
But there is something called a halo collar for your dog. Have you seen this thing?
Yeah. No.
Oh, look, halo collar, and I'll show you where it is. This thing is interesting if you have a dog. And basically what it is it is, you know, those collars that will keep your dog inside of an invisible fence?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the way this works is it uses a geofence and a GPS tracker over LTE, and you can draw up to 12 different geofences for your dog. So I can have my dog wearing the collar. I can take my dog, take it to my parents' house, and have their own geofence, and I don't have to set it up. I can literally just draw it out for it, and then you can control it. You can get real time, like, where is my dog right this second? Like, it's crazy. And then some of them, some people are making fitness collars for your dog's neck, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But I like the Halo collar, but I don't like that it's $800 on sale. So
I don't think this is.
no. Show me the search that you had. It's
Hold on.
not. Yeah, scroll down. It's under the Chewy. You got to keep going below the Chewy. Now go back.
Okay.
If you just scroll down, keep going. I think it's halocollar.com with Caesar Milan. Yeah, it's this thing. And so you should check this out. I have a this is weird. It's like pet tech, dude.
$800,
like,
huh?
Yeah, it's $800, but you can. You have to start thinking, though, is it worth $800 because of the fact that you don't have to pay? I don't know what it costs to put up an invisible fence. So it's interesting. So anyway, I just thought you would find that interesting because of the whole put a tag on my dog. All right, so
well, I don't think you tag the dog with those. You tag your keys or your.
No, it has.
Well, but like, you're not going to lose your
dog
in your house, though. I mean, I know it has a dog there, but it's for nearby things. Like if your dog is hiding some places, or
I don't know.
You know,
it makes no sense.
Joe wants to know how they got that dog to smile. see the dog smile. Oh, you can't. Hold on. Let's put the video back up.
Is the dog smiling in the video?
Yeah, the dog is smiling. Let's watch the video here for see how the dog.
Oh yeah, they got the dog smiling.
What do we what do you got from a work perspective?
Yeah, so some cool stuff. If people are into like building, like think of it kind of like building your own conversational agent, or building things where you can talk to it or chat with it and stuff. So in the next couple of weeks will be the release. You can already download the latest version. They're in the show notes. It's basically something called Bot Framework Composer. This is the thing that's I own a large piece of this product, so that's what I've been working on a lot. It's free. You can go get it. You can build a bot.
Where do I go? Where do I go to?
In the show notes, I gave you a link to where you can go to get the information about it.
To the introduction or the botnet, the framework?
The introduction to Bot Framework Composer. Okay. Yeah, so that think of it like a tool. Remember how we were saying we were making it where you could make all these things? Well, we made it a whole lot easier. If you want to see the recent stuff, you can go into if you get the latest version, there's in the settings of it, you can turn on like the daily builds. So because we develop in the public for this thing, because it's all on GitHub. So it's open source as well. So what you can do is you can go there and get a hold of this thing. And then what it is it's a tool, kind of like a development tool that lets you build bots, but we're making it where it's really a lot easier. And you'll see, like, if you say you want to do early adopter, you can turn on some of the feature flags of the preview stuff. You can kind of see what we're working on now, which is really making it super simple. And then the other thing that's kind of a big thing that we just did in preview recently is that, say you build one of these things, and you can do something where you just plug it into something called Q&A Maker, where you say, here's the question, here's the answer. And then crazy enough, we launched this thing which will allow you, and that's the second link that I had for you, which is basically we are launching the ability to just add a phone number so you can call it and talk to it. And it, when you talk to it, you can even change the voice font and all this type of stuff so that it sounds like something, and it sounds like a real person. So they're using like a neural voice font, which is really interesting because you get into ethics things. I think we talked about deep faking in that big thing. And so neural voice fonts were very new at that point. I don't even know if they were completely released at that point. It was like in beta. Now that's like a thing, and we have studios that we can work with people to build their own voice fonts and everything. But you can't build your own voice font in the public, because if we made that easy for you to do, or gave you the tools to do that, we can make Jim say whatever we wanted. And that is pretty much normal Jim. But other Jims in the world that aren't so willing to say whatever they want, maybe you don't want to do that. And it's pretty crazy, because they did this with Satya Nadella off of recordings of him, and it's crazy. You can't tell the difference. And then the other funny thing is that you can run this through the translation engine, and you can make it sounds just like you, Jim, with all of your accent, everything, but you'll be speaking Japanese.
Really?
and you could literally just type it in and say, make Jim say this, and it would sound just like Jim, only in Japanese. so it's pretty cool. Yeah, there's just so much stuff, and there's like some really cool things that are going on. The thing I didn't do before this show, which I did before, is check and see what is all in the public domain. Matter of fact, let me check one thing really quick, because if I can talk about it, you will want to know about it, Jim, because you've been talking about stuff all day. See if it's actually in public domain. No, I can't talk about it yet.
Okay. I am intrigued by your Q&A maker there, and keep coming. I'd love, because all I do all day is answer questions. That's all I really do. And I'd love to have a Jim bot that would people could just
I can make a Jim bot
that people could just go to, and they'd be like, how do I get my certified coach's discount code? And it would say in my voice,
here you go.
Here's the way to go about that.
Just call Jim. Here's his phone number. Call him.
I need to. Last time, a year ago, when we had you on, I really did try to engage with my own internal resources around Azure, and to say, hey, what do we have available to us, and what could I use? And there was just a fundamental lack of understanding as to what we could and couldn't use internally. No fault on Microsoft. Just a lot of like, I don't know, we don't want you messing with it. There's charges on these things. It was just so new. Like what we were doing at the time was so new. Nobody really wanted to mess with it. I even wanted to jump on the video services, because I think the video services are dynamite. And oh my gosh, Dwayne, to get anybody to really understand what I was trying to do, and it was next to impossible. So I just kind of said, I I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't have to have any of those things right now. I'm good. We'll just figure out how it goes. But there's some really powerful. I mean, there's some really, really powerful the ability in when I first started looking at Q&A Maker, it was only text driven. So you would load your FAQs in, and then you could type in a question, and it would come back with the answer it thought was true based on the FAQ, the question and answers you had added in.
Yep.
I'm sure now it's even more sophisticated in what it does. And you can tie these bots to it, right?
So you can do things like where you can have it where you ask a question, or you can have like multiple steps in it. Like if you wanted to ask about HR benefits, for example, and then you wanted to say, what are the available HR benefits? And then it says, here are the available ones. Which one would you like, more details or something like that. So you can do all that. But I think for most people, they just want question and answer pairs. And then when you do that piece of it, that composer thing I was telling you about, you can just say, hey, make a bot out of this thing. And then you end up with the Q&A thing being inside of it, where it already wires it up so that you can have question and answers, but then you can create custom dialogues with like multiple turns with natural language understanding in it and everything. But then by doing that, you can't really connect Q&A maker to speech and to the telephone unless it's part of that bot. So they've made that where that's a few clicks of a button to be able to do it. And then the new thing that we're also making is that you can pretty much, I mean, it's not 100% there yet in the beta release that'll be kind of shipping here in the next couple weeks. But you'll be able to turn on like this, it'll be under a feature flag that's called New Creation Experience. And when you turn that on, you'll have it where you can basically flip a switch and turn speech on. And at that point, now you can start talking to it. And then the last step would be that you would need to read the documentation on how to add a phone number to it, but it's not overly complicated to be able to do it. The other thing is that people who are in this podcast, if you're not in an enterprise and you're a personal account and you want to play with this, usually you can do this stuff for free. You just need to pay attention to what it provisions out on the backside. And then you can go turn the dials down and make it where pretty much for free. But the thing that hasn't been supported, there was a lot of work. It's I know this sounds odd, but like authentication is one of the harder things to solve in the IT world. And you would think that it would be just super simple to do this stuff, but one of the things that will be fixed in the upcoming release is if you have a personal Azure account that's like secured by a credit card, you'll be able to log on with that. Right now, you have to have like an enterprise account. It's just different authentication systems. So we added that. I just got told this morning that we should be green lighted on that. So that type of thing is going to open it up for the audience that you have to really get in there and play with it. And I would tell you, hey, look, if you get in there and you start playing with it, you know who I am, and I'm on GitHub, and you can complain or give me ideas of what is making it too hard, because part of my goal is to make this super simple for you to do. And it's much easier. It's not like writing code from scratch. It's a lot easier than that now. So when I first started working with you, Jim, you'd have to open up Visual Studio and write a whole bunch of C# or JavaScript. Now we've made that where you can pretty much just click through stuff. When you want to start connecting it to downstream, like I want to connect it to a different service, there's a little bit of know-how that you have to have. But creating a dialogue where it asks your name and then it tells you hello and all that type of stuff, and you want to add a personality to it, and you want to do Q&A maker where it answers questions. These are things that you could do in minutes, honestly.
I want it to follow me all day and learn from what I'm doing. And then I just want it to do my job. That's basically no, I really don't. Because then the computer overlords will take over, and I won't have a job.
Exactly. And that,
screw your Q&A maker.
Yeah, the heck with you and your Q&A maker. Well, and Q&A maker is kind of with what we've done with the composer and what we call the adaptive dialogue stack. It really almost makes it where you don't even need Q&A maker anymore. But I'm not going to say you don't need it. It's just if you wanted to build it as just a simple dialogue that says, hey, I want to recognize this, and this is a response, unless you got a lot of them or you want to ingest it from a document or something, you could pretty much enter it in that system. You wouldn't have to do the Q&A maker stuff. A Q&A maker has a little bit of an expense associated to it due to the fact it uses search. And so that's where there's some cost associated to it. So if people are wanting to play with this and they would just want to have fun and do something really, innovative, or play with what's going on in that space, you can just go get the Composer tool, and you don't have to use the Q&A maker. You could it creates like a web app and a few things to be able to do it. steer you away from trying to start with natural language understanding, you can use like regex or regular expressions, if you don't know what that means, which just means that instead of you having a true like AI engine that you train that says, I understand if you say this 16 different ways, that the answer will be that you intended this intent. And then, oh, when you said schedule a meeting at 4 p.m. tomorrow, that I can understand that the intent was schedule a meeting. The entity information in that was 4 p.m. tomorrow, so that I can turn that into information and be able to act on it intelligently. But if you just wanted to say something like schedule a meeting, or I want to say something about meeting, you can write a regular expression that'll pick that up. So you don't have to go that complex. But it's very cool because you can play with it and it's virtually free. Matter of fact, if you just do the required stuff that it provisions out whenever you do like an empty one and start with something like that, I think you can go in and flip everything to free.
Okay.
So it's a cool thing if you want to play with some toys, and we got toys.
Hey, we're going to talk about this next week when Uyghur's back, but have you gotten sucked into this thing yet? You know what
No, what is this?
So, and I'm not even sure how it's properly pronounced. I guess it's Valheim. Valheim. A Uyghur found a way to set up a server on an Unraid box and jumped into the Discord group this weekend. And it's like, hey, I've got a Valheim server going if anybody wants to jump in, right? And my kids are all playing this right now. So
what kind of game is it?
It's a building. It's like what's the game? What's the Microsoft game where you build stuff?
Minecraft?
Yeah, Minecraft. So think of Minecraft, except it's Vikings and it's not big, ugly blocks. So you build, you can build, you fight things too, but you build castles and places to live, and you can farm, and you can do all these things in there. Ooh, the chat room's lighting up. Joe says great game. So Brian, thanks for coming out tonight. Yeah,
Bye,
we're gonna spend some time next week, so we're not going to talk a lot about it here because Uyghur's going to come on. But I was just kind of wondering if you had you got bitten by the Valheim. It's super popular right now.
All right, so
that means
that means I need you to drop that into Messenger for me, so I have the link to that, because that sounds like something I might like, because I like the whole building games, like I told you, Tropico 6 and Civ, and it sounds like that might be in that realm. Where you can kind of build out stuff and such. So I just think those are really cool. That's pretty neat. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
because that'll be something to play with. I need Mike's server info so that we can all play.
Well, you'll have to come back and listen to the show next week.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. He's going to announce that
we'll talk a little bit about it. But if you want, I mean, you know how to contact Mike. If you want to check out the information, I dropped you the link. Just ping him, and he'll tell you what it takes to get involved.
That sounds cool.
He's like, do you want to do it? I'm like, heck no. Like, I don't need another thing. Like because it's super addicting. Like,
is it? Okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. My wife might kill
my kids in it all the time. They just really like it. So
yeah, well, it might be something that my son likes and that I like, because right now I do not like playing Fortnite. I don't think it's any fun. I'd rather play Borderlands, which is their same company. So
I guess Joe's in, and he says, Mike, let me bunk at his place in the game.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I'm kind of a squatter at the moment. So it's kind of
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you can actually you go mooch off a Mike in the game.
Yeah,
I like this game already.
Yeah,
it's the Mike mooching game.
The kids kind of like it, so you'll have to give it a try. Okay, so yesterday, Tim, my Marine son, who's home for the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
He's watching the SpaceX launch, and we're getting ready to give blood. So I said, hey, we got to go. We'll watch this on the way there. So we jump in the car, head out. I put YouTube on my phone in the car. We're watching. I mean, he's watching, and I got it pointed towards him. And Of course, they abort the first. This is the very first launch sequence they abort. So I was like, "You think they'll launch today?" He's like, "Well, there's a launch window, right?" I think so. So we get home and we're kind of just doing some stuff, and I pop back down. I'm like, "Hey, did they decide to launch that thing?" He's like, "Yeah, like 5 minutes from now." So I
Oh, you
sit down.
hold on. You got to watch this live?
Yeah, we watched it live, which was
Okay,
super cool.
just so you know, let me fill you in on it a little bit.
Okay,
A coworker of mine.
this is SN10. This is
Yes, you're
the
talking about SN10.
SN10. This is the
So,
big Mars thing.
yeah. So a friend of mine that I work with, his name's Andrew Clear. He and I are on a conference call in Teams, and he goes, "Hey man, I need to go. They're about to launch. SpaceX is about to launch. This was SN7. They're going to launch for the first time this thing." And I said, "What are you talking about? They're going to launch what?" And he's like, "Oh my God, you've got to." He told me what it was. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" So we ended up on Teams watching SN7 together, and that's when I actually started watching these things. And I'd been keeping up with it, and I had watched all of them live from SN7 and all the way through SN9 and everything. And we're in the process of shipping, and we're doing all our bug bashing this week. And I lost track of the fact that it was yesterday. So I didn't get to see it until right before this podcast. And I was like, "Oh my God." Okay, so go on with your story. I just wanted to give you the backstory on where this started.
It's the first one I've watched live, and I just happened to be home. He happened to be watching it. So I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
So you watched SN7 live?
No, we watched SN10, the one yesterday.
Oh, okay.
I haven't watched any of them live to this point except this one from yesterday.
So you haven't experienced the big boom?
No, I haven't watched them explode.
Of 7, 8.
I haven't watched them explode. I've went back and watched all the videos, right? But not watched them explode. So Tim's watching this as part of another. There's like a guy on Twitch he has several different video feeds going at the same time. He's flipping between them. He's talking about them. They have this big group chat going on. They got bets on whether it's going to land or not.
Seriously, they're betting on it now.
Well, not money.
I can see Vegas doing that.
Oh, for sure. No, I guess the chat, the page has a kind of currency, it's like chat currency or whatever that you can earn.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you're watching that feed where they're doing it, where they have a little live robot that's out running in the field and the guys are in the hotel across.
No, I don't think so. But
okay,
but that's okay.
If you haven't seen those feeds, you get reactions to all of these. It is super fun to go back and find that. And you'll see them because they're like 9 hours long.
Yeah.
Because they're watching it for the whole time but they break it up where you can go straight to it. So go ahead.
Yeah. He's doing this. Anyways, so the thing we watched takes off. We're watching it for 4, 5, 6 minutes. It goes up. One engine stops. The second engine stops. It's a single engine. It floats down. It rights itself. It lands. And Tim had betted on yes, like it would be a successful landing. And so they wait a minute or two, and then they're like, "Well, I guess everybody, if you pick yes," and they pay out on the bets, right? And so
no. So they paid. So let me make sure I get this.
Yeah,
they're in the chat, and they're putting money into the kitty to be able to.
They're using this chat money. It's not real money, but
okay. So they're putting in the chat money.
Yeah.
And
on this bet, yes or no?
On this bet, yes or no?
It's gonna make it, or it's not, right? So yes, it's gonna make it. No, it's not gonna make it. So it lands, right?
So by the way, hold on. We have to stop for a second to give the audience an understanding of what's going on. So if you're not familiar with the SN series, this thing is as big as a skyscraper.
It's Starship, right? That's what they're calling it.
Yeah, this Starship that SpaceX is doing. This thing is as big as like a big business tower building. What they're doing right now is they're shooting it up 10 kilometers into the air. It has 3 Raptor engines in it, and to get it up that high. And what they're doing is it's called the high altitude test. And what they're doing is they're taking it up, and then they cut the engines one at a time, and eventually it's running on one engine, which has thrust vectoring. Did you notice the thrust vectoring?
Oh yeah,
Which is really cool to keep it straight up and down, and then it will float. They will float it at 10 kilometers
6 miles
in the air. And then once they are ready, they cut the last engine, and it has fins on it, and it does a controlling descent to the ground. And then once it gets to a certain point, just like the other SpaceX things, the little boosters, but this is the whole rocket. It's like, it's huge. It's like, imagine a building falling, and then right at the last second, these fins flip, and they cut the engines on, and they're trying to land it straight up and down, perfectly up and down on the ground without an explosion. And to bring everyone up to speed, SNN7 was the first time they did it. Everything before that was their test of the engines and all. And so now they're actually doing the high altitude test to try to land it. And all of them up until SN10, something failed and they blew up trying to land it. So now Jim is saying
explosions.
SN10, which is the one Jim's watching, comes down and it does its flip maneuver. And what happens, Jim?
So it lands, comes down, and it lands. And there's and like people are cheering so the guy who's moderating this experience, he's freaking out. He's like, "Hey, they did it! They did it!" I couldn't see his. I couldn't hear him, but you could. He's like, I can't believe they effing did it! Like, yeah. So so they paid out. You know, they paid the thing. About 2 or 3 minutes. I go upstairs.
So you're saying what happens is it lands.
Yeah.
It's sitting on the pad, perpendicular. Everybody's happy. Everyone's cheering. Oh my God, they did it!
Yay, they did it!
They pay out the people who
paid the bets.
They paid the bets out to people who said yes.
So I don't think anything of it. So I go upstairs. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I go upstairs to do something. I'm emptying the dishwasher or something. And Tim comes up, Dad, it blew up on the
And for those that don't know, it sat. What ended up happening, and they've now done video analysis of this. What happened was when it went to flip to go down, one of the fuel pipes had burst, and what ended up happening is it was pouring liquid oxygen out, and that caught on fire. And if you actually watch the video, you'll see that they start shooting water at the thing because there's a little fire at the bottom. And then it goes out. So they stop shooting water, Jim. That's what happens. They're like, oh, well, let's just stop shooting the water. The fire's out, right? But the issue is the pipe is pouring liquid oxygen onto embers. and so what ends up happening is it sat there for about, I think it was somewhere like 6 to 8 minutes. And then all of a sudden, it just goes boom. And as a matter of fact, I think it was a bigger explosion than they've ever had with any of the others for some reason. And I think it's because the tank didn't rupture so quick. It was like it was like lighting a stick of dynamite. And the video feed I was watching of it earlier, because I went and I watched the original feed, and I thought it landed. I was like, oh, it's done. Everything's good. So I went to go find the feed I was telling you, which is like the 9-hour where the commentary. It wasn't SpaceX video, and I realized, and everything's talking about it blowing up, and I was like, well, no, it landed. And then I saw a video title that said blows up shortly after successful land, and I went and I came back to this thing, and so what you should do, Jim, is take it all the way to where it's landed, or where it lands.
This one may not. Okay.
No, go back.
That there it's landed there.
Yeah, it landed.
Let's see if we can get some video of it. There's a great shot of it right there. It's so,
yeah.
So that I was
perceiving how big it is.
It is. Yeah, you kind of think it like, it's like one of those ones you would pump up with water, when you were a kid, and then shoot it up in the air. You kind of think it's, I don't know, it's not that tall, But this is
but when you
this
look
is
at that
big.
little building down on the ground, that is a
Yeah.
multi-story building
Yeah,
down on
this
the
thing is
ground.
giant. This thing is
It's
giant.
so
So let's see. Is it going to do it?
I don't think on this video feed it
Oh, I don't
does.
think you're right. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, so the one that
Let me find.
oh, there you go. It was like
No, it's at the very end. Let's see if I can. Find it.
So the crazy thing is I start watching this thing and I forward it over to it, and I'm watching these guys because I love to watch their how they react to it, and they're jumping up and down and they're like, oh my god, I can't believe they did it. They actually did it. And I'm all like fired up. I can't believe they did it. This is the coolest thing ever. And they're like, we got that. We're just that much closer to Mars and all that type of stuff, right? And then that happened. And I was like, and the guy was watching the video footage on his phone to see the landing. And he didn't see it. He saw it out of the corner of his eyes because I mean, this thing blowing up. It's like imagine a entire massive building that's skyscraper sitting right next to down from your hotel blows up. The amount of light and heat that this thing produced was insane. But the thing was that you see him go, oh my god, it just blew up. He was like, what's up with that? And then he's like, guys, how in the world? And then all of a sudden you hear the boom. And it's like a earth-shattering boom. It shakes everything in the video that is so much of a thud because it's like a massive M80 firecracker going off. And the guys just start dying laughing. They're like, oh my god, did you feel that? Like, it was crazy. But that is insane that they landed it. And so here's the funny thing. It had nothing to do with the engines. It had nothing to do with anything. It had to do with a fuel line that wasn't secured well enough. And so they know they can land the thing now. They just need to make sure they build it to a quality level that they would actually build it. Because most people don't realize, like, this thing is not built to the quality of one that they would actually do. It just has the bare minimum stuff that they would do because they most of them are blowing up. It'd be expensive in a Raptor engine. How much do you think a Raptor engine costs, Jim?
I can't imagine how much that little. But Elon doesn't care.
Oh no, he doesn't care. He's like,
well, we'll learn.
Sell a few more electric cars, please.
We'll learn from it. Yeah, get some jackball to buy a Cybertruck. That'll.
Yeah, I heard Jim Carlson. He went out and he bought a Cybertruck. We can blow up a few Raptor engines. Who cares?
Get that guy to buy a Cybertruck.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I watched this right before talking to you. And the fact that I watched the SpaceX feed and it doesn't show it blow up. And I was like, the fact that I saw it and I'm cheering and I'm so happy. I'm calling Tamara in to watch it and everything and all. And I'm like, it's amazing. It's amazing. And then I go to search and I see the video feeds and it blew up. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
The emotion goes straight down. You're like, oh my god, because you basically are watching this and you're thinking, oh my god, like imagine if this was like they were a publicly traded company, because this happened during the day. You would see the stock going, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, but it doesn't, like they have such a nonchalant approach to this. Like when these things happen, they're like, well, okay, we'll learn from it. You know, there's the fire. Right?
There's the fire. Yeah,
you can see the fire.
I don't know if it shows them shooting the water at it. No, not in that video. But
holy crap!
But the funny thing was they were going to dispose of this anyway. By the way, in case you didn't know, yeah, they weren't ever going to fly it again, because it, like I said, it's iterative. Like like you do stuff where you understand like iterative design and iterative implementation. Yeah. So they can't fly it again. It proved its point. They got the data they needed to be able to say that they were good. They were prepared for it to blow up, or I think they really thought they were going to land it this time. And they did. They actually did land it, right? So I think they got the data to know how to land it, and they are going to know what happened. So I don't anticipate that they'll have another one blow up again anytime soon. I think this one, because if you watch how good they've gotten it now with their other rockets, man, I don't know if you watched the video where they first shot that rocket off and they landed the main one, and then they landed they landed the boosters back down on the launch pad, but the main piece kept going, and then they needed to land it because it was too far to come back. So they landed it on a platform on the water for the first time.
It's pretty amazing.
That's like beyond crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like I can't even imagine how in the world you do something like that. But
well, a lot of money, and you're okay failing. It's failures. Not, I mean, imagine when these things happen in NASA, people just lose their minds.
Oh yeah. Well, it's tax dollars,
right,
as well.
Right.
So
yeah. But when it happens to SpaceX, they're like, oh, they learned something. Guys, I've kept you around a long time. Dwayne, you hang tight. If you're listening live, thanks for coming out tonight. We'll see you guys next week. Uyghur's back, and we've got some Unraid news and some gaming news. So we'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you.